Hello everybody, it's time for another session of the 10-minute challenge. This is day 3, I believe. Yeah, it's day 3, I know that for sure. So, talking about Dark Star, talking about masculinity, linity, not eti, and femininity, and androgyny. Yeah. I listened to recently a podcast by one Tim Pool, who you can find at Tim Pool most places. He's got a YouTube channel. I think it's called Timcast. And in that, he interviewed this, I guess it's a husband and wife professor team, and they are both evolutionary psychologists. And I believe what happened to them was they actually got, like, run out of their college because they dared to say things that really upset their students. And in it, they made some interesting observations. They're scientists, and this is interesting. Another little anecdote. The other day we were in the car, and I was getting asked questions about the stars and constellations and things, astronomical stuff I don't really know the answer to. So instead of telling the kids to, be quiet and let me listen to the big game or whatever, I went ahead and told them that we would pull up something. So at a red light, I pulled up a YouTube video. Actually found this PBS crash course thing. And in this crash course, or I found that they have like this, I don't know, like 30 or 40 video astronomy class, and I put it on play for the girls, and we were listening to it, and in it, the professor type guy, was talking about how as scientists, and anybody can be a scientist, we never really know what's going to happen. Like, you can't, he said that as scientists, you should not claim to have perfect knowledge of anything because our world is always changing, and our perception of the world is always changing. And he brought up Ptolemy, or Copernicus, sorry. He did bring up Ptolemy, though, as well as Aristotle and, I don't know, some other old Greek dudes that are dead now. And he was talking about how they had, envisioned a geocentric Earth or universe, and that Copernicus, without advanced telescopes and whatever, had envisioned a heliocentric universe. And see, it's all about space, so it works in with Dark Star, okay? Anyway, and just how we can never really know. But this professor, this husband and wife professor team, in one of the classes, they asked all their students to line up in height order. And what ended up happening, from the tallest to the smallest, there was a general trend of male to female. And, of course, as, it was tallest males here, and there might have been a really tall woman in there, and they went through, and, maybe there's a real short guy like me over here with the women, anyway, there's different heights. I think probably, there's a lot of discussion about how real are racial classifications and ethnicities and things like that, and I think it's interesting. I mean, the basic thing is we're all human, and we're all people. It's the same thing. I believe in respecting people's rights and being cool with everybody. So regardless of differences, we should still be able to work together because we're all humans. Anyway, so the reason I'm talking about that is because I wanted to talk about masculinity, femininity, and androgyny, because I have this interest for some reason, in female characters who don't always present as female. And I was touching on it in the last video I did about Dark Star, that I think it might be because, and I've drawn a man here and a woman here, and she's smaller and a little narrower, her hips are a little wider, even though these are just skeletal constructions here, because that's generally true. And you've got your, I can't remember her name now, but the lady who plays, anyway, there are large women. There's a WNBA where there are taller women. I think the average height of the WNBA is shorter, though, than the average height of the NBA. So there's just another example of there are natural phenomena that occur and exist, and we should look at these occurrences and not necessarily judge the whole world based on them, but certain things are, provable or whatever. That's not really my point. My point is that I would much rather watch or, oh look, I have a little friendly circle here. I'm using recycled paper, by the way, so, it makes me better than you. Because obviously you're not using recycled paper. I'm just joking. It's a silly joke. Not very funny. Anyway, so I'm going to draw something that I didn't really expect I would be drawing today, but here we go. So I'm going to draw two female warriors right now, and they're going to be different. And I'm not saying one is evil and one is good, or one is, one should be made and one shouldn't. I'm just saying there's a lot of one thing and there's not a ton of the other, and I would like for there to be more choice, and so that probably has a lot of influence on how I choose to create things, because you know what, I've got I pointed out in a recent video that I have created Zap, and Zap is a little bit like Black Lightning, except she's a woman of color, which, by the way, person of color is a phrase I really hate because I happen to be of color, and I don't appreciate being called of color. Person of color seems dehumanizing to me, like a dehumanizing term. You may disagree, but we have different filters and different experiences in life, and I grew up at such a time that being known as a person of color to me is like shocking. Like, excuse me, I'm a person, not a person of color, so step off. Anyway, so I'm just gonna do a couple quick sketches of two types of female body, and give them weapons and outfits and whatever, and just say something about them. So here we've got a very curvy, very rounded body, trying to go. And by the way, also I was listening to I would like my body to look differently than it does now, and in order to do that I need to eat well and exercise and sleep well, and I don't always do those things, so I'm still not entirely happy with how I am. My wife loves me and she doesn't think I look terrible and things like that, so that's a positive, but I personally would be happier if my body looked differently, and that's a goal I've set for myself long term that I will go ahead and correct over time, and thank God I've been able to exercise a lot recently, and I'm getting more consistent with my routine, and I need to build a habit and follow it, whatever. So anyway, we've got this very, I'm not sure why I spun off into that tangent. I'm still having a lot of difficulty drawing and speaking extemporaneously at the same time, and if I tried to draw like with notes or something, I'm sure that would be even worse for me. So anyway, hey, why not go the full, excuse me. So I'm drawing, in my opinion, this kind of ridiculous suit of armor that I would never put one of my characters in. I actually did something when I was like 10 or 12, and I thought, like, oh yeah, it'll be like Xena, it'll be great. But I've kind of renounced that, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of voluptuous, perhaps ridiculously proportioned women who are drawn in media, and so this lady's got like a backhanded sword hold, and maybe she's got a gigantic sword, and whatever. I drew something like that, actually. Maybe I can show it in the next video, but this is definitely one approach to a female character design. And what was I going to do with this? So she's very busty, and she's in kind of this metal bikini. You know what? Let's make these chains, okay? Because she's tough, right? She's got chains going down, connecting her bikini top, her metal bikini top, to her metal bikini bottoms, and there she goes. She runs around, I guess, barefoot. And because I'm only doing 10 minutes, I'm not really going to get into the full thing. You know what? Actually, she needs to be in high heels. That's what she needs, right? A bikini in high heels? Doesn't that make a lot more sense? I'm being facetious, by the way, for anybody who isn't picking up when I'm laying down. But anyway, so I guess I'll use this as an introduction to the concepts that I'm going to be talking about, which are masculinity and femininity, and how they balance each other out, or are represented in, you know, what it means to be a strong female character. Which I think I touched on before, but anyway. So you can like, share, subscribe, all those good things to help me out. You can do that somewhere, I think in the center is where I'm positioning the little subscribe button. And you can even, when you're subscribed, you can get notifications too, so that every time one of these videos comes out, you can check it out right away. So I would appreciate that a lot. Thank you for your time now, even though I didn't quite get to the point that I wanted to. Those are really big feet, but she's wearing heels, so it's okay, I guess. That's all for now. Again, thank you for watching.